Okay. So this was the code that we have, uh, where we are first initializing the stack, then we are pushing few values and we are popping a few values. And of course, we can mix up these things. I mean, we need not do all pushes together and all pops together. Perhaps we can mix the stuff. We can just put maybe some other one push somewhere over here, and likewise. So I asked you the question that what do you think, basically why this code looks little bit, what is it that strikes you by looking at this code? So I will wait for the answer. I will not discuss immediately. I mean, you can type it out in the chat box, and we'll come to this point, okay, in a short while. So, so this push and pop have been written. Let's go back to the list of functions that we discussed earlier. And the list of functions that we had, where push and pop initialize stack has been done. Print element at the top, perhaps can be done pretty easily. I think you can write the code for that. Size of stack, number of elements in the stack can also be done pretty easily. In this case, a top plus one will give us the number of elements in the stack, and which could be returned back. Is stack empty, is stack full? So let's try to write these two functions. So is stack empty, is stack full? So what it should return back? It will return back either true or false. Now, do I have a data type for Boolean? The answer is no. Can I define data type for Boolean? The answer is yes. And the way I will define the data type for Boolean will be similar to what I have done for this status code. And in which case, basically, I will define that as an enum. And I will say this is essentially false. And this is true. So true gets value 1. And this I will call it as new type. Let's call it as Boolean. Okay. So now what I will do is I have to write the code for is stack empty and is stack full. So I will say that is stack empty or is stack full. Boolean is stack full, let's say. What does it take? It can take the, it is to have the stack pointer. Now, is it required that I need to have stack pointer, or can just stack will also work? Because I'm not going to make any changes to the stack in this function, right? Look at the value for the top, and depending on that I'm going to return back. So what do you guys think? Shall we pass the stack or stack star, and why? So let's say that here, let me write boolean rate val. So return value is boolean, and depending on the value of top, so when is the stack full? Typically I know that stack is full when top is equal to, we started with top equal to -1, when top is equal to max stack -1. So I will say that if stck underscore ptr arrow top is equal to max stack -1. Okay, if this is the case, which means that stack is full. So in this case I have to say rate val is equal to 2, else rate val equal to false. Now there is an assumption over here that I'm making. An implicit assumption is over here. Can someone spot the assumption that I'm making in this condition check? Which, by the way, I'm ensuring that that assumption is true. That has been ensured separately. What is the assumption which is being made over here? Stack is already initialized, top is -1. No, those are not the assumptions that I'm making. You are looking at wrong things. You have to look at the condition that I'm using over here. So the assumption that I'm making, so in the else part I'm returning it as false, which means that in the else part I'm saying that stack is not full. So implicit assumption is that the top does not cross max stack -1. So otherwise I could have written if stack ptr arrow top greater than equal to max stack -1, then it is true, else it is false. That is the more correct way of writing code, I should say. Okay, like this. Because if it crosses it anyway, it is stack. The stack is still full. But the way the push function is working, and we are aware of it, that it does not allow it to cross max stack -1, and that is why even if I write equal to, it is perfectly fine, because when top is not equal to max stack -1, it is always less than that, which means the stack is not full. Okay. So regarding the other question that I had asked, I think some of you had said that we don't have to make any changes. So am I making any changes over here inside the stack? Answer is no. So in that case, perhaps I could have still used instead of stack star, I could have just used stack, and then I would have used let's say here stck is the name, and I would have said stck dot top equal to this, and like this. So is that not fine? The answer is yes. It is also fine. But then what happens is when you do that, then the whole structure will be copied into the activation record. Okay, the structure of stack, which contains the array as well as the integer top, and then the whole thing gets copied. Fine, I mean that is also okay. But why to allow for that copy if you can just pass the pointer? Then there is no copy which takes place. So what gets copied is just a single pointer and not the memory, and that memory of stack could be large because the size of that array could be large. So still, passing pointer helps out. Okay, so we'll stick with that. I will pass the pointer. So that is one. Number two, stack ptr arrow top equal to. So here the assumption is that it does not cross max stack -1. And remember that this is the condition, because this conditions is again implied by the initialization that you made, which is top equal to -1. Had you made initialization of top equal to 0, this condition would have become stack ptr arrow top equal to max stack. So again, this illustrates that initialization actually is guiding everything. Okay, and let's say that if I write this is stack full function. Okay, let me just move it little bit around so that I can do something else over here. So let me write it as the just after the initialize stack. Okay, so one thing which I can do now is that over here, if you see the push function now, what push function is actually doing is the first condition that it is checking is that whether the same condition it is checking whether stack is full or not. So rather than this condition check, I can actually use is stack full, this call to the function, and I can immediately pass stckptr. This is also another reason why it will help me out in passing the pointer, because I can just pass that pointer to stack full function, and it returns true or false. Remember that false is 0 and true is 1. So because we have defined it as enum, and because of that, what is going to happen is when it returns full, which means that it returns 1, which means it returns true, then in that case you are going to return failure for push. So now look at the push code. It looks much more readable. I mean, it's saying that if the stack is full, return failure. Otherwise, you increment the top and insert the element, right? Similarly, I can write another function where I can say is stack empty. What is the condition for is stack empty? What is the condition for stack being empty now? Top equal to -1, because that is where we started, right? So the condition for stack being empty is that top is equal to -1. So I had to make the change. So instead of max stack -1, I had to say -1. Okay. In which case the ret value is true, otherwise it is false. Remember that stack not being empty does not mean that it is full. Okay, because stack not being empty means that it has some elements present. Okay, so it may not be the case that the whole stack is full. So there are three different states, right? I mean, the stack could either be empty, or it could be full, or it could be neither. I mean, it is neither empty nor full. It is somewhere in the middle. Okay, so similarly now, just like I did the thing for push, similarly I can do it for pop, and I can say that I had to check whether stack is empty or not, which I can do over here by saying that instead of doing this, I will just replace this with function is stack empty, and I will just pass stckptr so that it can immediately use it and check. Okay, and now again the pop function looks much better, because pop function says that if the stack is empty, it is a failure for pop. Otherwise otherwise you have to insert it basically at a particular location. Rather, you have to stack is empty, it is failure. Otherwise, you read the element at the top, store it in eptr, assign it to eptr, contents of eptr, and then you decrement the top. Okay, so this looks much nicer. Okay, so with this, and perhaps I can leave it up to you now after doing this, these two functions or three functions, which is printing the element at the top as well as number of elements in this. Number of elements is same as top plus one basically, so that you can immediately return back. And print is basically you still take either stack or stack ptr and just print the element at the top. That is always possible. Okay, fine. So now we let's go back. Let's go back to this definition of stack. Here we did. Okay, if I just change this int over here to float, I get the implementation of stack for floats. And you just look at this, there is no integer mentioned anywhere else in the whole implementation. Okay, so this is a great advantage of doing this. And address code and use of boolean makes thing more stable. And similarly, this structure itself being defined as stack makes stack as a absolute data type, pure data type, which I can use as if it's a data type, like a stack of my stack or something like that. And then you look at initialize stack. I told you this is the most important function that we have is empty, and if we write those functions, we can use them in inside push as well as in pop. Okay, fine. And now this main function, and now you look at again, let me ask you the question again. If you look at this, the way the coding has been done, what strikes you? You look at this. Okay, you can see everything which is written over here. So I will now want an answer to this question. Okay, because we are going to discuss something important. The switch case. Yeah, I mean, I could have written switch case, and I could have given options to write 0, 1, 2, and then uh, use class and objects if possible. C language does not provide class and objects, right? So how should I use class and objects here? We can have one file with this function. Okay. Yeah, I will definitely have. Onkar is saying oops, but I don't know what he means. I mean, of course, he means object oriented concept by this oops. But what we put into stack.h. So whoever wants to use the module stack, they can just use stack.h. Take it. So the that typically happens in any C language code. I mean, you will typically try to write functions in such a way that if you're calling some function that is defined early. So and perhaps you can think of that is how the functions evolve, right? I mean, try to write some function, then you realize, oh, if this function itself is a function, it is helpful, but it is going to be used again and again, and that's what can be done. So that is a normal C language part. Perhaps you should look into this code not from perspective of what is written, but what is not being written, what is not being done over here. There is something which is being done, and there is something which is not being done, and that not being done is basically not being done purposefully, and for that, unknowingly, you didn't guess it, but a lot of things that I did earlier through those type devs and everything else, it was to make sure that I get code like this. Nothing is taken from the user. Okay, what does it mean? Yeah. So what Prabha Sai is saying actually is close to what I'm looking for. Okay. So if you look at these functions, okay, you look at this initialize stack, push, pop. These are the operations. This we decided to have these operations even before we started implementation. Right or wrong? I mean, when I described data structure stack, I said these are the operations that we came up with these operations. These are the operations that we are going to require. Yes. uh, what is this push doing basically? If you see, what is this, what are the parameters? This is an element, the value basically which I am pushing onto the stack, and this is name of the stack. Okay, maybe although I am passing pointer, it is almost equivalent to name of the stack. But what is this my stack? If I look at it, I see, oh, my, what is my stack is, oh, there is a some type which is called as stack. Okay. So what I am giving to the outside world, I am saying that there is a type called as stack, and there are operations like push and pop on that stack. It is very easy. I mean, what you do is whatever the variable that you define, you just pass its pointer over here because C language requires it, and then you just pass the values. And whenever you want to read some value, you want to pop, you just define this item type and just pass it, and you get it. So what is hidden from you in the whole thing? These are things which are shown, but there are a lot of things which are hidden. So what are the things which are hidden? What are the things which are hidden overall, not only under type def? Overall, what things are hidden over here from the user, from the end user? Let's say this main function writer is the end user who is using this stack module. What all things are hidden from this end user? Yes, data types, implementation of stack, how stack is implemented to the level that not only definition of functions, okay, but to the level that whether stack is, if you see, just look at it. Do you know that stack is a structure? You don't. You just don't know what stack is. Okay. So it's just that it looks like that there is a data type available called as stack and you use it. Nowhere we know that stack is a structure, number one. Nowhere we know that this structure contains array inside that. So it's an array implementation is not known. Now you imagine that if I had not taken stack as a structure where top and elements array are together part of it, and if I had kept that array separate and top separate, then in that case I can't do this. Then I will have to ask the user to actually do all the operations by themselves. Okay, if I keep those, or even if I keep those things separate, maybe I can call a function. But the end user who is using this knows that this is being done through the array. Now, if you look at this code, in this code, and you convince me that basically this is through array, you can't convince me. I don't know what this, whether it is using array or linked list or something like that. And and you let this code remain. I mean this code I will keep. And of just a few lectures later, I will show you that when I implement stack by using linked list, this code does not change. I can use exactly the same code. Okay. So what I have hidden is I have hidden the data structure definition. I have hidden the functions which are working on this data structure. I have hidden, basically, I have not told to the outside world what it contains, how it is being implemented, how the stack is implemented, and how the stack functions are implemented. I am not telling it to the outside. You may claim that, sir, you never need to tell how functions are implemented. I agreed. If I provide them as library, but what user may can see is basically the .h file, stack.h file, and the stack.h file they see. What will they see? They see declaration of pop, they will see declaration of push, right? And they will see declaration of is stack empty, and they will see declaration of is stack full and is stack empty. You convince me that if I give you a list of declarations, only declarations and not definition. So if I give you this line, let's say this is first line, this is, let's say, second line, this I'm giving you the contents of .h file. This is third line I will give you, which is stack empty. And then I will give you push and pop. So the end user who is using this library, what do they know? They know this .h file, which contains these declarations 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is a fifth guy who is pop. So they just know the declarations. And perhaps one extra information that right now item type is integer. Okay, that's it. So if you look at this, even if you look at this declaration, does it tell you anything? If I'm the end user, does it tell me anything? Of course, I need to know what there exists a stack type. Only that part I need to know. But other than that, basically, if I look at this, it does not tell me that there is a structure. It does not tell me that there is an array. Maybe you may say that, okay, stack is a structure I can see. But of course, you can see that it contains array also. But it does not depend on the fact that the stack is being implemented by using array. So the code that the end user is writing, which is the main code main, that code of main does not give any hint that this stack is being implemented by using array. Rather, it does not depend on that fact. Tomorrow I change implementation of stack from array to linked list, which I'm going to do basically in perhaps by next week. When we do that, this code does not change. This code just remain as it is. And at that point, you would realize this what we have exactly done. Okay, which means that the implementation can change, but this code remains. And why it remains as it is? Because it remains as it is because what we have done over here to tell in another way, and this I did on purpose basically, the way I written this thing over here, that what I am doing over here is I am defining over here, I am defining stack as what is called as abstract data type. So I say that in this case, what I have essentially done is that I have defined this tag as an abstract data type. Even if you add those 4 5 lines from the .h file and you give me those, okay. So this I have used in .h. Essentially, what I have done over here is that I have used these 5 functions, and then I have said that I want to implement these 5 6 functions, and what I have done is I have provided the declaration to implement these functions, and this is how I have provided them. Okay. So if you look at these functions, you just don't know how the data structure has been implemented. But what I have done is I understand stack as a data structure. I say it is a LIFO data structure. If you remember the first one, the initially we said what is a stack. I gave you a few examples and we said that it is a last in first out data structure. That is the only thing that we understand, that over here, that this whatever has been defined as stack, it will provide me last in first out functionality, and it will provide me these functions which I can use, which is initialize, is stack full, is stack empty, push pop. Nowhere when I'm using this, basically I know that as a user of these functions, I don't know that this stack has been implemented, whether by using linked list or array or anything else. Okay. So that information is completely hidden. So there are multiple things which are happening over here. Firstly, I have defined stack as an abstract data type. What it means that by stack, it means basically last in first out data structure for me and this set of operations. So I have said that I have defined a data structure which is last in first out, which provides me this set of operations, and that's it. But what I am doing is, so I'm just telling you the set of so the property with abstract data type. I'm telling you the property which is implemented, property that is implemented. In this case, it happens to be LIFO, and the set of functions or functionalities actually. So this is the only thing which is known to outside world. Okay. So the outside world just knows this, that these are the things which are implemented through this abstract data type, and that's why it is called as abstract data type. And but what is hidden basically over here, how the data structure or the functionality is implemented is either, I will say, hidden, and if you claim that it is not actually hidden, then I will say that either it is hidden or not exposed to the outside world, or not exposed, or they need not know. So to the outside world, they need not know. If they want to find out, of course they can find out, but they need not know. More importantly, if implementation of the data structure changes, even that also need not be known to the outside world. For example, tomorrow I change the implementation, I change the array, basically from I replace array with linked list. I change implementation of stack. This .h file does not change. This .h file remains the same. What changes is stack.c file, and then I will make the changes in stack.c, perhaps in declaration of stack in the type def. But this .h file which I have exposed to the outside world does not change. Not only that, the code that outside world has written, like by initializing stack and push and pop, even that does not change. Okay, so nothing changes outside, only inside things are changed. So even if the implementation of data structure changes, by data structure I also mean including functions. So this need not be known to the outside world. I will say that on one fine day, I will say that I will give you another .obj file, and whatever stack.obj you have, just replace it with whatever I am giving you. So they need not change the .h file, did not change anything else, and after they take .o file, perhaps they can recompile their code again. If I use dynamically linked libraries, even that recompilation is not required. So in this whole process, the whole thing has been designed in such a way and purposefully this has been designed in such a way that the outside world need not know. And this was made possible because of, typically because of the first starting point was this, the way we defined the structure, this stack, where we first decided that these two elements should be inside the structure. So structure provides a wrapper, and then we called that as a data type called as stack by through type def. So essentially immediately this whole thing became, this stack became a black box. I mean it hides inside the contents basically. And then we made sure that by passing the stack ptrs etc, we made sure that the outside world need not know. We provided the functions to them. Someone pointed out, right, that you are using some extra functions. So I provide functions like stack full, stack empty, a lot of other things, and I made sure that the outside world need not know that what is happening over here. Even if you actually see that, if you look at this push code, okay, of course here I know that what top was assigned to, but in general basically even what is the condition for stack full, that also I have purposefully kind of, I have shielded it inside, although it doesn't matter too much over here, because anyway this is part of the same code or same file going to be. But essentially this is how we are hiding the functionality. So there is a lot of functionality which gets, and this is all good because this kind of thing, implementation of data structure changes, that also, this is also not known to the outside world. So what is happening is, by hiding the functionality, we are actually getting benefits out of it, and outside world gets disconnected with what we are doing inside. And that is a very, there is a very fundamental principle of any program design or any software design, where these things should be separated out. Now someone made a point saying that this looks like object oriented, or I don't know whether that was the intention, but someone else say that why don't you use class and objects. Rather my argument is the other way around. The way I'm in, firstly in C language I can't use class or objects, right? But the object oriented principles, where I can hide the functionality, okay, and I can give something only, some declaration out, and they did not know what is happening inside. That is being cleverly done over here through C language only. And which language to choose is not typically in your hands. I mean, you may not be able to dictate that you're going to take object oriented language like C++ or Java, because that gets determined by a lot of other things. For example, if I want to write system program for mobile or for operating system, of course C++ or Java may not be taken. In that case you are forced to take C language because of some other constraints that you might have, efficiency and a lot of other things. But in that case, that doesn't mean that programmer should forget about these kind of concerns or these kind of things which are useful. So the point over here is exactly opposite, that even in C language you can implement some kind of object oriented concepts, and those who don't know, don't bother about it. But essentially this object oriented concepts right now, what I'm talking about is nothing more than by saying that we are separating out the implementation with what is on offer to the outside world, okay, that we are offering as a deal or as an agreement, but inside we are hiding the implementation. We are doing it for a reason, and which is actually good, because that is going to give us advantage later on when my implementation tomorrow changes or something changes over there. Outside world need not change anything. This is like, imagine that I initially wrote stack by using arrays, and I distributed that code to thousands of users, and suddenly I changed that to linked list. I cannot go to thousands of users and say that you change your implementation. Rather, I will say, do you don't change any implementation. I will just provide you one extra .obj file or .o file, that you just replace that earlier one with the new one, and that's it, basically. And that everyone will agree. That is part of the upgrade or whatever you call it. It can come through that. That's how updates happen, right? I mean, on the software. That you don't have to change anything on your end. I mean, and something changes, but whatever you are using, those code or whatever those things are, they remain exactly same. So this is a very fundamental principle of program design. Why I'm saying this? Remember our course name is data structures and program design. So this is a very important principle of program design, and this we are going to follow from this point onwards. So every data structure for us from this point on is going to be abstract data type. We are not caring about internally how it is. In this case, stack definitely is a very good example, and some other examples also we are going to see. So this is all about ADTs. This is also called as ADT, abstract data type, or I can call it as ADT. Okay. So what is an ADT? Essentially, it defines data type or data structure, but it doesn't tell me that how the implementation is. It says, okay, stack is a LIFO data structure, and it needs to have these properties or these functions, this functionality, and that's it. And we understand what it means. So I say that there is a black box called as stack. in which basically inside which I don't know what happens, but then I can actually do all these operations. I can push something, I can pop something, and I can get the correct results. Inside I don't know how they have implemented. Okay, and this, when I say, basically this becomes an abstract data type, and we deal with abstract data types more often in data structures course. So this is the first abstract data type that we are seeing basically in a way. So any question, any issue at this point in time? No? Okay. So I assume that this particular part has been understood. When the remaining time, what we'll do is we'll quickly we'll take a few examples or a few applications of stack. Okay. And so the simplest application of stack that we could say is, let's say, a reversal of a string. Okay. So let's say that I have a main function, and let me define a string. Okay. So firstly, I want to change this to Courier new, and then in page layout, I want to reduce the space. Yeah. So let's say that I have char str string, and let's say of size 100. Okay. You excuse me for writing 100 over here. I could have done hash define size. If you want, you can do that. Hash define size as 100. Then perhaps I can use size over here. Okay. And let's say that what I am doing is I am reading this string. So I will say scanf percentage, and I can say str. Okay, so user is giving some string for me, and my job is to reverse the string. Okay, so we know we have already done that. I mean, what I can do is I can have this string, and then I have to go up to the middle of the string, and I have to replace. First, I need to get the string length, and then I have to go to the middle of the string, and then I have to replace every a of I or str of I with str of size minus I minus 1 or something like that. So and then I have to do only half the size, and then the string gets reversed, right? I mean, this we have done. Question is, can we do it by using stack? The answer is yes, and perhaps we can do it better. So maybe what I can do is, instead of doing all of that, perhaps one way for me is I can take stack my stack. Now one small change I can make, that item type that I defined as int, I can make it as char. So essentially over here, I am assuming that stack is of chars. Okay. So I'm assuming that I have stack of characters. Okay. Now what can I do? I mean, I had to reverse the string. Okay. So I have been given a string, and I have to reverse the string. Now, is there anything which or if I want to, let's say, not just reverse, I mean, I can do the storage in the same string. Let's say that I want to just print the string in reverse. Okay, if there is a smaller task. So what I can do is, perhaps basically I can just, after I read this, what I will say is I have int I equal to 0, and what I will do is I will push in general. Imagine that you push all the element as you are reading. Okay, as you're reading integers, let's say you pushed all the integers on the stack. The first one you take out is the last one actually. So maybe if I'm asked to print the characters in the reverse order, what I can do is I can push all the characters on a stack, and then I can start printing in the reverse order after that is done. So first I don't need to push all the characters on the stack, which I can do. So first, if I'm using stack, then I have to initialize it first. So first thing I will do is I will initialize stack, and to which I will pass this my stack. Okay, and then what I will do is perhaps I need not for if I assume that this string is well formed, I can actually do I need not do I equal to 0 over it. It could be just int I, and I can say that for I equal to 0, and now I will say that str of I not equal to slash 0 I plus plus. And then what I will do is, so I have str of I is the next character, so I will push the next character, which is str of I, which is the element in my stack. Remember that my stack is no stack of characters, it's not stack of integers. So I have pushed all the elements. So when this loop is over, by that time I have pushed all the characters of the string in the stack. Now the character which is on the top is the last one actually. So now I can start printing from there. So perhaps I may require something, some under some condition I should continue, and you have to guess the condition. And what I can do is I will pop. So I may have char c, and I will provide while some condition. What I will do is I will pop, and I will provide char c, the address of char c and my stack. And then I have this character c, which I will perhaps print. So I will say printf %c. Let me call ch. Let's see. Okay. So what is the what should be the condition? Have I counted the characters? I have not. Have I used string length? I have not. I can use it by the way, but I don't want to do it because the string length also makes one scan of the array. That is one more scan actually, so which I'm avoiding. Perhaps I could have kept some count variable and I could have counted. Let's say that I don't want to keep the count. Then in which case can I still write the condition for this while loop? Yeah, while stack is not empty. So while stack is not empty, so I can write that not of is stack empty. And I know what to pass to is stack empty, which is pointer to my stack. Okay. And with this, basically, while the stack is not empty, it will pop and it will print. And with this, I am sure that that the string gets reversed, or the reverse string is printed. If I want to store it, I can store it in maybe in some the same string str itself. I can store it back because I have stored the reverse of it in the stack. So perhaps another thing which is possible is I could have done over here instead of this. I could have just directly done str of I. Okay, I will initialize to 0. Okay, and again I initialize I to 0, and then while this loop is going on, I will say str of ch, str of I equal to ch, and perhaps I do I plus plus. Okay, this will actually reverse the string. Okay, right now I'm not worried too much about basically about the complexity or efficiency. I mean, you may claim that perhaps the other one that we were doing directly on the array was perhaps more efficient. I'm not worried about that. Rather, I'm showing you an alternate way of reversing the string, where either way I am not using string length function. Let me tell you this. Earlier, I had to use the string length function. So it was string length order of n plus n by 2. 3n by 2 it was doing basically. Of course, again, if you actually count the operations, perhaps I mean it might come out to be still order of n. But the thing is that this is where this is a little bit different in the sense that without having any kind of count or string length, I'm doing it by using an array, using a stack. Okay. So this is the first first example of use of stack. Now, similarly, can you use this similar the stack basically for maybe to identify whether the string is palindrome or not? Okay, how will you do that? If you want to identify whether the string is palindrome or not, how will you use stack to do that? Any idea? So I'm now going to throw a few questions to you. I'm going to describe the questions but not the answers. So I'm going to throw a few questions. So first problem, let me tell you what are the problems that we are mentioning, the problems we are solving. So first problem that we solved over here is reversal of a string. Problems solved by using arrays. Sorry, stack. Problems applications of stack. Let's say applications of stack. So firstly, reversal of a string. Second thing I am saying, we all know the problem of identifying whether the string is a palindrome or not. Whether a string is a palindrome. How do you do that? By using stack and not keeping count. Any idea? Yeah, of course, I can reverse and compare. I can reverse, I can store it in another and I can compare two arrays. Any other way? So this whole complete reverse thing. So one other thing someone is saying that you push all the elements, all the characters onto the stack, and then you take out one element. Whatever you take out is the last element, and then you check it with str of I. Every pop basically you do, you check it with str of I, and any place it does not match, you stop. Okay, if it matches for all the characters, you are done. Can I reduce it little bit? Can I reduce that operation set of operations little bit? Perhaps I need not push all the characters, but I can just put only half the number of characters in on the stack. So perhaps I may require string length in that case, by the way. So if I get string length, then I can move only half characters on the stack, and then I can just that is in the reverse, and then I have to continue, by the way. So first half characters anyway I put on the stack, and then I have to continue from that point onwards in the string, and then take out a character by character and then start comparing. So if you imagine what will happen in that particular case is that, let's say that I have, let's say MALAYAM. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? Malayalam, yeah, LAM. Okay. So what will happen? How many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 characters. Half is 4 characters. Okay. Which means this. This is exactly in the middle, which I can ignore. So what I will do is MALA, I will put on the stack. Okay. And then because I know that this string length is odd, I will skip this one character more. Had it not been the case, I would have just directly gone to next line. And now I'm still in the string. And this A I am going to compare with whatever is on the top of the stack, which is basically I will pop something from the stack, and what is on the top of the stack is A. So this A will be compared with this A. Then I will go ahead and this L will be compared with, again I will pop something from the stack. So this L, these two L's will be compared, and then these two L's will be compared, and finally this M will be compared. And how do I know that I have done? I am done. How do I know I am done? I know I am done because I have reached to the end of the string. Okay, because I will see that as I'm moving in the string, I have reached to /0. I have reached to the end of the string. Incidentally, at that point, because I just moved half the characters, the stack will also be empty. Okay, and then I know that stack is empty. This thing is there, and then never I failed, which means that this is a palindrome. So this is a way in which I can do that. So second way is basically the second application is we can determine whether the string is a palindrome or not. Now there is a third application. Let's imagine that I have a string which is made up of only characters. Say string made up of only characters A and B. Okay. So let me give you few problems for homework. Okay. So with successive, I will describe the problems and perhaps we'll describe the solutions tomorrow. Okay. So the first problem that I am giving is, let's say that there is a string which is made up of only characters A and B. I need to determine whether string is of the form A power n, B power n. I will tell you what A power n, B power n is. So essentially imagine that if I write the string, so what are A power n and B power n? If that is the question, I will say that consider the string AB is of A power n, B power n, or AABB, or AABBB. Okay, or A, okay. So this is for increasing value of n. But I don't know what is value of n, by the way. But I want to check whether basically my string is of any of this form. So any other form, if the string is basically which is consisting of a and b's only, that I don't consider as a power n b power. A power n b power n means n is followed by n b's. Okay. Now this I want to do. Rather, this can be done only by using stack. Believe me, and this can be done very efficiently by using stack. Question is, how do you do that? Okay, this is the first question. Okay. So you should be able to you, by the way, you don't know the length of the string. You should not use str length. Okay, if you use str length, perhaps things become a little bit easy. So if you don't use str length, can you do that? And so you should not count the number of characters. Okay, you should not count the number of characters without counting number of characters. Essentially, I had to say that without using str length. Okay, or without counting the number of characters. Okay, without counting how many a's are there and how many b's are there, can you determine whether the string is of this form a power n b power n, where n could be anything? It is not told to us. Okay, can you do that? That is the first question. The second question is basically, this is comparatively, I mean, you can do that, but there are multiple conditions that you have to keep track of. Okay, so I have to just little bit worry about that. If you get this, can you extend it basically to another question of similar nature, but it's pretty complex, much more complex than this, is to determine basically, now I can say I have another string. Let's say over here, let me copy this. So the next problem is string made up of only characters. Now I will say A, B, and C, and determine whether the string is of the form a power n, b power n, and actually some people might have guessed basically which is c power n. Now this problem you may not be immediately solved. Let me tell you. I mean, so this problem you can solve by using a stack. For this problem, when you start using stack, you will still realize that there is some issue. If you solve this problem and you try to apply exactly similar way for this, you will realize there is some issue. But then you should also realize there is a way out. Okay, and what you need to do in this case. And the third problem that we so this is perhaps the most difficult problem. Let me tell you. Okay, of all the problems that I am describing, this you should be able to do, except for you have to take care of the conditions that you have to keep track of. Okay, because I'm not allowing you to count the number of characters. Okay, so you need to keep track of multiple conditions, and this is little bit, this is of the similar nature, so I described, but then this is perhaps the most difficult one. And there is one interesting problem, which is basically to determine. So again, now the string is made up of not ABC, but imagine that string is made up of, let's say, only two things, two characters. One is close bracket and other is open bracket and other is close bracket. And you have to determine whether the given string is a balanced parenthesis. So these brackets are called as parenthesis, and a string is called as balanced parenthesis if so forget about the operators that we write in mathematical expressions, but I will say that if you write mathematical expressions and you put a lot of brackets around, you say that 3, let's say I will say 3 plus 4, then into 5, I will put another bracket. So imagine that that there are no operands over here or operators over here, and you are dealing only with the brackets. So whatever the mathematical expression gives you as valid, basically, it's all those things will be valid. Similarly, there will be even this bracketing will also be valid. Okay, so this is also valid because I can put operator in between, and there is one first operand and second operand. So all these things are what are not valid. You can immediately guess what things are not valid. So perhaps these things are not valid. Okay, because for different reasons. Similarly, this thing is not valid, and likewise. So you know what is valid and what is not valid. Okay. So how will you determine this balance parenthesis? Okay. Now this problem can be solved either by using stack or without using stack. So first, what I will suggest is try to solve this problem without using stack. Can you get that just on the string basically? Okay, don't use stack. And once you get on the string, then think of how will you do it by using the stack. Remember that this problem is different than a power and b power. If you say that a is open bracket and b is close bracket, it is not same as a power and b power, because here I wanted all a's together and all b's together. In this case, that need not be the case, as you can clearly see in this kind of expression, in this kind of thing. This is all still balanced parenthesis. But here there are not all a's, meaning all opening brackets are not close together and all closing brackets are also not closed. But it is still balanced. I can still write expression basically which takes care of this. So this is still balanced parenthesis. So what is the meaning of balanced parenthesis? Okay, that you have to worry. Then try to do that without using stack, and then try to do it by using stack. Okay. So these are the 3 problems for your homework. Okay. And we'll discuss these basically in the next class. Either tomorrow we'll discuss, or tomorrow I will take another topic and then we'll come back to these problems and discuss it, so that you get some time. So with this, we will stop. In case you have any problems or any question, you can put it over here. Don't try to answer immediately. Let me tell you that there are a lot of blind spots over here. So unless you think through properly, you may make a mistake. So the better way is basically go in the order in which I am asking you to go. You go in the order first. Try to solve problem number 3. Check what conditions. Don't consider it as easy. There are conditions, a lot of conditions to take care of. Check what conditions you have to take care of. Then you solve problem number 5. Then you realize the difference between these 2 problems. But then this problem you can solve if you know what balance parenthesis is. What is the difference between these 2? And then perhaps you can solve this problem number 4 at the end. Okay. So don't jump in. Don't give the solutions. You may make a lot of mistakes if you immediately try to give solutions. Okay. So think over this. We'll discuss this in either tomorrow's lecture or the lecture next to that. Okay. Thank you. If any doubts or any questions are there, you can put on the chat box. Thanks.